All right, well, I think the plague continues here. We've got several out still sick. Let me have the songbook, Mrs. Baker. Thank you. All right, I'm holding the songbook too. Now I want to sit it down here and put my notes on it. All right, well, let's take our Bibles, go to 2 Timothy chapter 4. Amen. Just pray for the folks that's sick. Well, we got a lot of people out, that's for sure. First Timothy chapter 4. Oh, I'm sorry, did I say first? I think it's 2 Timothy. If I said first, I meant second. Get 2 Timothy chapter 4. I'll come down here and get about verse 21. And this is Paul speaking. And he says, "Do thy diligence to come before winter." Now, Paul is in his he's really in his last days right there. I mean, he is about ready to be offered as he goes down through there. He's giving some last minute advice to Timothy. He's writing to Timothy, just a young preacher. And he comes down through there. He starts out, first of all, he's telling Timothy to preach the word. And that's a good thing. He said there'll come a time, and he said, well, they will not endure sound doctrine. And that's today. A lot of folks don't like the sound doctrine. Now, he's talking to the church. You've got to be mindful of that. He's not talking to the lost. He's talking to the church. And he says there'll be a time in which they'll not be able to endure sound doctrine. And so they'll want to hear other things. They'll want to hear, the singing maybe more than the preaching. Probably won't be holding songbooks like Brother Jim was saying, some of them. Now, I know that's just some country folks that do that stuff, but there's people who they don't even sing in church anymore. And that's some of your joy, folks, to sing in church. I mean, that's part of getting the service going and getting the gears all revved up and getting ready for the preaching is part of the singing. But there'll be time, it says they will not endure sound doctrine. And then he comes on down there and he says, "For I'm ready now to be offered." And you know what an offering is. An offering, something has to be cut usually and die. Paul, we are told from historians, died by getting his head cut off. Now, I don't know if that's true, but there's something that goes on there because Paul said he's now ready to be offered. And an offering dies. That lamb died. It was an offering in the Old Testament. And if it was a meal offering, you still had to cut the thing down. And whether it was an animal or whether it was a meal offering, it still was cut. And Paul says there that he's ready to be offered, and his time's in hand. He said he's fought a good fight. That's what you ought to be able to say today. If you're a Christian, when you're ready to go out and God's ready to take you out, you should be able to say, "Yeah, I fought a good fight. I have done all I can do, and I've done everything that I'm supposed to be done. I fought the best fight I could fight." He said, "I finished the course." And he's got a crown of righteousness laid up for him there. Not for him only, but for all those who love his appearing. And then Paul starts reminiscing a little bit about some friends, and he talks about some friends, but he comes down there and what he wants, he has 3 requests. Well, 5 really, if you get right down to it. There's 5 requests there. But he says, get a cloak. He's telling Timothy, get the cloak there that he left with Carpus. A fellow by the name of Carpus, I think it was, in Troas. And he says, bring that cloak with you. He says, get and some books. Timothy, bring some books that I'm needing. And then he says, the parchments, especially the parchments, he says, bring them. He knows life's going to be over soon. He's taken a few minutes now to write to a friend in the ministry, a son in the ministry. He's called his son, Paul calls him a son in the faith, because he had led Timothy to the Lord, and as he's about ready to depart from this world, he's given Timothy a few last thoughts here of some things that he's needing and some instruction to Timothy. And here's Paul the helper. Paul was a helper all of his life. I mean, man, he was going to the churches and he was helping this and helping that, and he was helping this church and that church. And now all of a sudden, Paul the helper is Paul the needful. Here's a guy, he's needing something. He is no longer the one being able to help. He's needing some help himself. And so he's writing to Timothy, and he says, Timothy, bring these things. Going to need these things here. And bring the cloak, the books, the parchments. Now the fourth thing you would say that he was writing about would be Timothy. I mean, he was wanting Timothy too to come. So he was, I guess the fourth thing would be Timothy. And if you look on down through there, he says, bring Mark with you. Mark's profitable to me. So that's the 5 things he's asking for. He's asking for a cloak. He's asking for some books. He's asking for some parchments. He's asking for Timothy to come to him. And he's asking for Timothy to bring Mark, because Mark is now profitable to him in the ministry. And you know, it's really ironic that 1,500 years later, there's a fellow by the name of William Tyndale. William Tyndale finds himself in prison over the Word of God too. William Tyndale is writing, he writes to a friend also, about 1,500 years later. Tyndale does just about the same thing. And I don't think he asked for the same things, but he finds himself in prison. He finds himself in prison over the Word of God. And he says, you know, let me just say some last things to you here before they take care of me. Now, you can see the sense of urgency in Paul's writings. You read down through there, you can see that twice the Apostle Paul is asking Timothy to come very quickly. If you look down there about verse 9, I think he says, come, do thy diligence to come shortly unto me. He's asking him there in verse 9. He's a big emphasis. Timothy, you need to get here. Come. Then he gives some more thoughts. He writes about some friends. He writes about, you know, greet this person, greet this person. There's some of them doing well, or another one not doing very well at all. And he's talking about greeting these people. And then he comes on down through there, and in verse 21, he adds a couple more words to that. And he says, do thy diligence to come before winter. To come before winter. You can see the urgency that is in Paul's writing there, because twice he asked him these things. Now, when we talk about winter, you know what we're talking about. We're talking about something here that is fastly approaching. And winter really kind of represents the seasons, I guess, in general, represent the spiritual times in your life. These seasons. I mean, when it's spring, that is a good type of your youth. I mean, you're young, you're vibrant, you're growing, you're budding out as a young person, that type of thing. And then, of course, summer comes, and the summer with its fruits, and you know, when the body and the mind then begin to once kind of get in line with each other and things of that nature. That's the summertime of your life. And then fall hits. Even though fall has the beauty and fall has many good things about it, but the leaves start changing, don't they? The leaves start changing a little bit up there. Leaves start falling out. A couple places there in the mouth. I don't have any teeth. Things begin to fall apart in the fall time, brother. And that's the fall. And fall's a good time too. It doesn't have to be bad. But boy, wintertime hits. And wintertime hits, it's rough. And as you get older, things just really begin to fall apart. Things begin to, get hard and things of that nature. That's how seasons can be in our life. Seasons can really depict your life in so many ways. And here's Paul. He's saying, do thy diligence to come before winter. Do thy diligence to come before winter. Now, I want to talk about this morning. And I want to say this, that you should come before winter spiritually because, number one, situations change. I mean, can a situation change really quick? I mean, you can be doing one thing 1 minute, and the next minute you're fighting for your life, or you're fighting just to keep your head above water, whatever it might be. Situations change so quickly in life. And they really do. And so what Paul's saying is come before winter, because why? Situation may change. They change quickly. It's coming up on winter times. Everybody got their car winterized real nice right now, You say, well, I'll just wait. Well, you wait too long. Buddy, I'll tell you one thing about winter. If you got anything going wrong with your car, it'll show up pretty soon. As it gets colder and colder and colder, you're going to have some problems if you don't kind of winterize some things. Y'all remember years ago, remember the fuel line freeze up? Y'all remember that, how cold it used to get? I don't know if that's around anymore. I think now they got additives and things like that. But, you know, that's just what happens when it gets really cold, when it gets real cold. But I'm telling you, if you don't do your maintenance now on your car, you're liable to be hitchhiking. You're liable to be saying, hey, calling a tow truck or something. Because why? You got to take care of some of them things now. You got to take care of them now. You can't wait. If you wait too long, even take care of your car right now. Boy, there's not a better blessing in the world, brother, than to get out about 20 degrees with some wrenches and let that thing slip off and bust your knuckles. And I'm telling you about, man, you'll squeal and you'll howl and you'll think, oh, my word. And the old man will maybe try to rise up a little bit in you. And what is that? Well, that's just probably you should have took care of some things beforehand because you waited too late. You waited too late to take care of them. Now, situations can change. We was just out Washington, as many of you know, a week or so ago. And out Washington, we saw many just beautiful mountains. You know, Washington reminds me a lot of the Appalachians down there, the Smokies. But the difference is they have those huge mountains out there. I mean, man, they got 14,000, 12,000, 11,000 foot mountains, which is huge. And of course, you know, the rest of Washington looks just like going down to the Smokies. Got the real big high mountains with no snow on, but they'll have snow on Mount Rainier, Mount Baker, Mount Hood all year around. And we went one day, we was going to go see Mount Rainier. And we drove, I mean, man, you can look. We were like an hour, 2 hours away, and we could see that mountain. Boy, that's deceiving. Well, let's go see that mountain over there. 2 hours later, we're there, you know what I'm saying? It was really, really deceiving. But we got to the foot of that mountain. And when we got to the foot of it, there was a park ranger there. He said, I tell you what, you got to have change if you go up on the mountain and you ain't got change and it ain't raining, it ain't snowing right now. I mean, it's about 60 degrees that day. He says, it's not snowing right now, but it can start snowing anytime. And if you get up there and the ranger tells you got to put your chains on, you ain't got change, you're going to have a ticket, he said. And so we didn't get to go up there because we didn't have any chains. You said, what happened? Well, I'll tell you exactly what happened. Situation can change in a heartbeat. I mean, it's not snowing now, he said, but he knew that mountain. He said it can start snowing any time. And situations change. Situations can change in your life. Are you prepared for winter in your life? You prepared for it? Now, situations can change. You might be just fine in some area right now. But, boy, didn't it change for Demas. Demas had wintertime hitting him hard. Look down there in verse where it talks about Demas hath forsaken me, having loved this present evil world. Demas, wintertime hit him pretty hard, old Demas. Wintertime had come in his life. Wintertime is completely unpredictable. Many of you probably remember the old 1978 snowstorm. Remember how that thing hit? Well, you talk about crippling our area. Man, that crippled totally the area around here. I remember as a kid, we was off for a month. Boy, those was glorious days. We didn't go to school for a month. But we went all the way up to about mid-June, almost July. Hated that. You know, that wasn't a good part of it. But we was off for a while there. And, man, that was a terrible winter. You know what they call it the White Death, a lot of people do. You say, why? Boy, when these big cities are hit with these sudden snowstorms, you read about 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 people dying every time in one of them things. People freezing to death, people getting whatever caught out in it. Whatever the deal is, a lot of people die in them things. You say, what happened? Situations change. The situation changed. I mean, you don't know what may happen before you get out of here. You don't know the phone call you're going to get in an hour. You don't know what your legs may have carried you in here, but you may stand up and your back go completely out on you. I'm saying this, folks, you need to do thy diligence to come before winter because situations can change in a heartbeat. They can change in a moment's time. Do thy diligence to come before winter. Situations change. Just one winter storm in life could change everything for you. It could change every way you look at things. As many of you maybe have went through some things. You got some character flaws. Tell you what, you young people today here, you better get those character flaws in tow now, because the older you get, the harder they are to get a hold of. Can I have an amen there? Don't wait till you're in the 50s to start dealing with things like me. Listen, I think all of us men could probably stand up here and say, there's some things I'd like to change about my character. Let me tell you something. Right now, trying to change things in my character is a tough deal. I'm 55 years old now. That is tough. You young guys, you young men in here, some of you young fellas in your 20s. Now, you should have been already working on it long before, but if you want to work on your character and you don't like some things about your life, you better work on those things now. It's going to be harder in your 30s. It's going to be even tougher in your 40s, 50, 60, 70. Forget it. I'm telling you, man, it's tough. You will have to really have some determination. You got some problems. You got some character issues. Well, you're not the man you should be, or you're not the woman you should be. Some of you ladies, maybe. I'm telling you, you better work on that character now while you're young. Because why? Wintertime's going to set in. And when wintertime sets in, it gets hard. It gets hard. Better work on your character now. You got some problems. You got some, now's the time. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, as they say there as we go. Hey, let me ask some of y'all children, that change your life? Some of y'all that's married and, you was just a couple for a while. Let me ask you this, did children change your life? Boy, ain't nothing like a child that'll change your life. We're always used to just getting up and go, not when you have kids. I'm telling you, man, when you got kids, it's all get the car seat. Oh, wow, well, they just threw up, they just spit up. Oh, well, change the diaper. Oh, well, I got to do this. Isn't that the way it is with kids now? There's always something you got to take care of. Boy, before, let's just go. Yeah, hey, let's go on a weekend trip. Boy, when you get kids, things change. We got to find a babysitter. We have to do this. Buddy, that's a situational change. It'll change for the good. I'm not trying to talk anybody out of not having kids, amen. I'm glad I had them. But I'm glad I had children, but I know this, it changed my life. It changed our lives. My wife and our lives were changed. And it's a good thing, but it's changed, and it takes some, it just changed your situation in just about every aspect. Every aspect. And so what is it? Well, if you've got some problems now that you need to work on them while you can still do something about it. Do thy diligence to come before winter. Get that thing taken care of now. Don't wait. Don't put it off. Don't wait. I'll tell you what also why you should come before winter. Because these right here. Opportunities. Opportunities flee. Opportunities flee. Now, Paul knew this. Paul knew it. That's why he's telling Timothy, come before winter. He's saying, Timothy, listen, you need to come before wintertime sets in, because wintertime in the Mediterranean was a very unpredictable thing. Wintertime in the Mediterranean would, you read Acts chapter 27. Remember, Paul was saying, hey, listen, we need the winter here because this is going to be to our hurt if we don't. Of course, the captain didn't listen to it. He thought he knew more about it than Paul. And here's Paul, who does this guy know about it? I'm a sea captain or whatever. And he didn't listen to Paul. In 1 Corinthians chapter 16 and verse 6, Paul gets over there with writing to a church, and he says, for I am determined to winter with you. Why? Because he knew, man, the mountain passages are going to be impassable. I'm not going to be able to get over there. I'm not going to be able to get on a ship and just sail. He says, Timothy, if you want to see me, you better come before winter, or you're not going to see me, buddy. You're not going to see me. Do thy diligence to come before winter. Why? Because your opportunity is going to be gone. If you wait too long, I'm about ready to be offered. Man, they're going to take me out and give me the chop, put me on the chopping block. Shipping lanes closed. Everybody probably remembers the Donner Party. How many of y'all remember the Donner Party? What an illustration to waiting too long. Donner Party tried to take this shortcut in the past and ended up being a long cut. And buddy, they got on those Sierra Nevadas up there, and I mean, boy, that snow hit them. They got way too late. They waited way too late to hit that thing, to get across there. They was going to California, out of Missouri, and so forth and so on, and all these problems they had with wagon breakage and everything, trying to go over that one pass. I can't remember the pass right now. But boy, they had a real hard time, and the problem was this, that they just got there too late. And I'm telling you what, when that's some of the awfulest thing you ever read in your life about those poor people. They got up there, man, and I mean, I think it's about 4 or 5, maybe 3 to 4 months before they could get help. And by the time help came, I think out of 87, about 40 of them survived. And it got so bad they were eating one another, the dead they were eating. That's rough, brother, when you get that bad. When you're starving that bad that you're just putting the people outside and that are dying, and you're just taking little pieces off of them and eating them and frying them up or whatever, if they could find wood. The snow got so high, man, I don't know, days they couldn't even probably get out. Boy, you talk about a rough time. What's your spiritual lesson there? Their opportunity, they did not make it. They didn't get to they had to get across those Sierra Nevadas, man. November is not the time to cross that. You can't cross it. You can't cross it then if you're on a wagon. I remember out there when we were talking to some folks just out in Washington. You know, Washington's got all those mountains out there. And they were saying that, boy, those mountain passes, you wait too long, you'll get stuck on those mountain passes, because I think they run north and south, and man, they're pretty high. They're pretty high ones. And there's a certain time you better get across those things, because if you wait too long, probably ain't going to get across. Now, Paul's saying, Timothy, listen, there's a certain time you're going to have to, that it's just going to be shut down. Do thy diligence to come before winter. Now, the idea of the text is if you wait too long, then you're going to miss out. You're going to miss out. And, you either use, I'll tell you something, folks, that is the most precious thing that you own. Even more precious than that dollar bill in your pocket is your time. You can make money. You can get money. You can make up money. But I'm telling you something, there ain't a person in here that can make up. You can't make up wasted time as far as getting that time back. Now, you can make up for some wasted time, but you are not going to make up. You can't go back and say, boy, how many of us have said this? Oh, if I could just go back and do that over again. Man, if you miss that opportunity, you've missed that one. Now, maybe you'll have an opportunity again sometime, but you'll never go back once you lose time. You cannot go back in time. And, that is something that you have to be very careful about. There was 2 guys in history that waited too long to attack Russia. One of them was Napoleon. Napoleon said, let's attack. What month is it? It's June. You don't attack Russia in June. June's too late. June is too late to attack Russia. Well, he gets over there, and old Tsar Nicholas draws him all in and things of that nature, and gets him all the way to Moscow, and then they burn the city down around him. He retreats back, and after that, Napoleon had lost his European army. After that, who was it? Those nations around him that he had already conquered, began to rebel against him. I think one of them was Austria, and some of those nations that he'd already conquered. They knew he'd lost his army. They knew he completely had lost his army. And, buddy, once he lost his army, the whole thing fell. Next thing you know it, he's being exiled on the island of St. Helena. What was it all from? I think it's Elba first, and then St. Helena. And he attacked too late. Well, Hitler years later, which I'm glad Hitler lost, but Hitler years later didn't take it from Napoleon. You don't attack in June. So he sends his 6th Army, the best army he had. All those fellas, that was marching through. You know, if you see the old World War II pictures, those soldiers marching very triumphantly through Paris, France, and the big opening they're coming at, that army man, best army. He sends them east. What'd they do? Well, they attacked in June. What happened to Hitler? Froze them out. Froze totally out. You say, why? He missed his opportunity. Attacked too late. Opportunities don't hang around forever, do they? Listen, brethren, they do not hang around. I remember years ago we went down to Brother Munn's place. And they had the Pensacola Lighthouse. Pensacola Lighthouse had 177 steps in that lighthouse. And I thought, well, man, I'm going to climb them things. You know, my legs wasn't too bad a shape then. I don't know if I could climb 177 steps now with my knees. I'm glad I did it when I had the opportunity. You say, why? Well, because I might not be able to do it now. I'm saying this, folks. Do thy diligence to come before winter. There may be a time you can't do it because of your health. They may be a time for something else. I don't know what the reason may be, but you better do it while you can do it. You better do it while you can do it. Why? Because opportunities can flee. They flee. You maybe only get one shot at some people with the gospel. There may be some people that you know that you're going to get one shot at them. That's all you'll ever get out of them. You'll never see them again. That's why I'm thankful for the Richwood Flea Market. You know, some of those people, we see some come regularly through there, but the beauty about that is that, man, I know some of those folks, we're hitting them there, and it's probably just one shot. I guarantee you there's a young boy down there around Sparta that's glad that me and Ryan was there one day. You say, why? That boy got saved. I don't know his name. Ryan can tell you his name. That old boy got saved. He's some sort of a youth director. He's involved in the church and everything else. What a blessing. That might have been the only shot that we could got on that kid. You never know. You never know. And so, listen, there's just one shot sometimes. And that's it. And if you miss your opportunity, you don't get it back. Now, thank God, sometimes we get many opportunities. But you will find there's some things in life that you're only going to get one shot at it. And if you miss it, you've missed it. You've missed it. Do thy diligence to come before winter. You want to show some kindness to somebody? You want to be a blessing to somebody? You better do it while you can. You may not be able to do it at another time. It just might not, situation may not arise. Just might not be there. How about this? How about your parents? You're not going to have them around forever. Some of you have lost your parents. You spend some time with them. You say, well, I wish I'd spent more. You lost that opportunity, didn't you? You lose those opportunities. And if you're going to show some kindness or spend some time with your parents, maybe you might need to mend some friendships that have been lost over the years. I don't know what it is. Maybe you need to, repair some things that went sour. Some friendships. I mean, you never know what the Lord might have you to do. But I'll tell you this, you better do it while you have the opportunity, because you only might just have one shot at it. Might just get one shot at it. Maybe it's leading your family. Maybe it's mending a friendship. Maybe spend some time with your parents. I'll tell you, I've been at funerals and I've seen them cry over the caskets. I've seen them cry. And I understandably why, when you lose a loved one like that. But here's the thing I wonder if they told them they loved them while they was alive. I've seen them say, oh, I love you and I love you. And that's a good thing, and I'm sure they do. But I've always wondered when I see that every time. But did they tell them that while they were living? Hard to live with guilt, brethren. Hard to live with that. Hard to live with it. Did you tell them that you love them? Did you want to spend some time with them while they was alive? Nursing homes are full of people, ask Rick, of neglected, forgotten people. Completely forgotten. And you want to show some kindness? You want to spend some time with some of your loved ones? You're going to get serious with God? You're going to only have a certain time. There's only a certain time you're going to have. And then the door of opportunity is going to close. You need to mend some character flaws. You need to mend you some character flaws. Well, you only got a certain time to do it. I mean, a lot of us have them. You're going to miss your opportunity if you don't get on it pretty soon. How about teaching your kids? You all got kids. Teaching your kids certain things. I preached with a guy out in Washington. His name was Brother Ray Meyer. We're going to have him in, by the way. Really good fellow, good preacher, older man. He's a 9th degree Shotokan karate instructor. And he's about 70-something years old, and that old man can kick you right in between the eyes still. I mean, he's got the movement. I mean, he still, don't let the rapper fool you. But I preached with him, and he gave an illustration. He said, we taught our kids to obey a command immediately. He said, when we'd say stop, they'd stop. We'd say, hey, quit that, they'd quit that. He says, one time my boy was about ready to walk across the street, and I said, stop! He said, he went like that, and the car went, shoo! Kid didn't see it. He said, save that boy's life. You say, why? We taught him to obey from the get-go. Now listen, man, that is important. That may save your kid's life. You say, I haven't been raising my kids like I should. You better while you have the opportunity. Better while you have the opportunity. Opportunity's going to be gone at some point. They're going to be grown. They're going to be out of the house. The character's going to be fixed. They say a limited time offer. Why? Supplies last. Right? That's what all the commercials say. Boy, that's true. That's true with this stuff. It's only a limited time. You got some things you want to fix up, you better fix them up now. Now, you may try to reach out to somebody and they might not want to be reached out to. But have you tried? Have you tried? Have you tried to do it? Have you tried to do it? You say, why? Because your opportunity is for so long. I keep hounding it, but I'm telling you the truth. That is an important thing, and that is important. Those can change. Do thy diligence to come before winter. Why? Situations are going to change. Do thy diligence to come before winter. Why? Because you only have a window of opportunity in so many things. So many things. Now listen, you ought to come before winter, lastly, because of this right here. You don't want to live with this. You don't want to live with regret. I mean, think about all the things you would like to go back and fix up again. Man, there's a ton of them. I tell you, I could think of some things that I would love to go back and fix back up. But I can't. And I tell you, I have been out before where I felt the Lord impress upon me to give a tract to someone, and I was too busy to do it, and I didn't do it. And I know someday when I get to the judgment seat of Christ, I hope that person got saved, but I know I'm going to have to answer that I didn't give them one. You say, why? Because, buddy, you are going to stand before the judgment seat of Christ, and don't think for 1 minute that you're not going to have some of that. But try to have as little as that as you can possibly have. So when the Lord presses upon my heart today about giving someone a gospel tract, I force myself to do it. You say, why? I don't want to live with that. I don't want to live with regret. That's a hard thing to live with. I was, many years ago, Gene and I, we went to Madison, in Indiana. And we were at Madison for a weekend, something like that. And I went to church on a Sunday morning, got up Sunday morning, drove near a graveyard. And I remember going past that graveyard, and I remember seeing just a newly dug grave out there. And I saw that newly dug grave, a chair sitting right by it. Now, nobody was sitting in it at that time. Made me think, boy, there's somebody passed away and somebody is really, really missing this person. They're out there talking to this person. They're out there sitting by the grave. Maybe it was a child that had died. Maybe it was a husband that had died or a wife that died. I know whoever had died, this person was a chair, brother, and sitting in the graveyard next to the grave. And I'm sure that chair was frequently visited and sat in over and over and telling them, oh, I love you, and talking to them. And again, I thought so many times when I see that, is it because of they're living with regret? I didn't tell them this while they were living. Is there a song, Give Me One Roses While I Was Living? Remember the old song, brother? Or don't give me flowers or something, just one rose. I can't remember. It's an old song they sing down the old regulars. Heard all my life, and I can't remember it right now. But I'm saying this, you can live with regret. Don't live with regret. Don't live with regret. Don't do it. There was a young lady by the name of Isabella Graham. I was reading her testimony. She was born in Scotland. She came to New York City when after her husband had died. And I'm telling you, boy, when she came, she got to work for the Lord. She got to working. She got involved with hospital ministry. She got involved with prison ministry. She was ministering to young ladies in prisons. She started a missionary society for certain people, and I can't remember who it was, what organization she had started it for. But you talk about a lady that was busy. She got busy for the Lord. And she wasn't a very rich lady. She didn't have much money at all. One time she came into some money. I don't know if a relative had died or whatever, but she actually got some money. And she said, she wrote in her diary, here's what she wrote. She said, I took my tithe out immediately, and then she wrote, quickly, before my heart hardens. Quickly before my heart hardens. Boy, she knew the heart, didn't she? Imagine a person, a widow, living on a very fixed income, get a lot of money, and her heart would say, well, listen, you need that money. Don't give that money here. You're going to have to live on that. You're going to have to do this. And she said, quickly before my heart hardens. You know what she didn't want to live with? She didn't live with regret. She didn't want any regret in her life. She knew what that would do. Now listen, while your health holds out, while you got good health, you walked in here this morning, I think of Miss Joanne quite often. And I think of her, how she needs Miss Andrea and her daughter there and her son and Brother Mark and Miss Karen. She needs them to pretty much take her around. They wheel her in here Sunday mornings and things of that nature. She can't get up and walk anymore. There's a time she could. There's a time she could. I imagine everybody walked in here this morning. You know what? Someday you might not be able to. And then you may begin to think, well, I wish I had some health. I wish while I was able to walk, I was doing this. I wish I would have done this or done that. That's regret. You don't want to live with regret. You got good health now. Do you ever thank God for it? Are you using it for Him? Hey, you got a grudge today against somebody? I wouldn't want to hit the judgment seat of Christ with a grudge. Not me, man. I wouldn't want to hit that holding a grudge or bitterness in my heart. I'd get it taken care of. Why I can. Why I may not have the opportunity. Situation may change. You may regret it if that person passes away or person moves off. You never get in contact with them again. Maybe it's a family member you have a grudge with. I don't know. Maybe it's someone at church. Christian did you wrong. Well, join the club, man. Join the club. Everybody gets done wrong. You reached out to them. You might regret it. You might regret it. Now, let me draw something down here. I want to draw Timothy. He says, do thy diligence, Timothy, to come before winter. Why? Because if you wait, buddy, there may not be an opportunity for you to come. If you wait, now it does not say if Timothy made it or not. Your Bible doesn't tell you. But I tell you what, if he procrastinated, if he said, well, you know, I've got to take care of some things here. Paul, you put me in charge here over this church. And Paul, I've been watching over him. And listen, Paul, I don't know if I can come right now. And if Timothy would have waited, and maybe he did, maybe he didn't, maybe he came. Maybe he took care of it. Maybe he did diligence. Maybe right away, man, he came. But I'm telling you what, we don't know his response. We never will know till we get to heaven. But I guarantee you, if he didn't make it, see, here's Paul. They're taking Paul off. His head's been chopped off. I'm going to draw his head here in a minute. He's done lost his head, man. Imagine if Timothy showed up right there, carrying old Paul out. What do you think he'd have? Maybe he missed his opportunity. I missed my opportunity that day. Paul, I'm sorry I didn't make it. Paul, too late. Too late. Telling you sorry now would have been too late. I hope he made it. I don't know if he made it or not. But if he didn't make it, he lived with regret. I guarantee you, as close as they were, as close as Paul was to him. Now, how about you? Listen, do thy diligence. Do thy diligence to come before winter. I guarantee you there's some folks in here who needs to take care of some things. Maybe some of you men need to just step up and and start leading the family like you should. Maybe some women need to start, supporting her man or whatever it might be. Maybe some of these kids, teenagers, I know we probably don't have any young kids here today up here in our service. They're all downstairs. Some of these kids are not obeying mom and dad. Maybe there's some things you need to do. Maybe there's some people you need to see. Maybe there's some things you need to get right. Do thy diligence, brethren, to come before winter. Listen, that can change before we get out of here. That can change in a second. Those can flee and you'll never have an opportunity again. That's sad, but it happens. And man, there are so many of us that live with that. All of us can regret some things. Let's try to keep that a minimal. Let's try to keep that a minimal. Father, we ask you now to bless, God, the invitation, Lord. And God, I pray that your people would do some business with you, Lord. Maybe you've put something on their heart. God, may they have enough character to follow through with it. God, these opportunities can go. Situations will change. And God, I know what regret has done to me. There's some things I regret to this day. And Father, I wish that I would have done it right away. I pray you bless now a few minutes as we just spend time reflecting on these things. And God, we get serious with you. Maybe some of us just need to get serious this morning. Brother Jim, would you get a song and come and you draw a little bit more on this? Amen.
Never regret it. Trying to win the soul for Christ. Never, sometimes those almighty dollars come out of your pocket tough to go to that place.
Amen.
Boy, there's a ton of things that I wish I would have done. There's times when I should have had that track with somebody that God laid on my heart. Like Brother Bill, half is all. There's times when I let that opportunity to open my mouth pass by. There's things that I should have said to that loved one before they passed away that I didn't say. I should have had a better family life with my kids. Yeah, buddy, I regret that.
Yep. Amen.
Too busy on it.
Yep. Amen, brother.
Too much stuff in life. Do thy diligence. Winter is coming. Maybe in your mid-20s, mid-30s, mid-40s, it's going to be winter soon. Take care of what you need to take care of now. When the time comes.
Amen.